All right, we are live. I'm so excited. We are going to be doing a homeschool chat today, all about highlights, lessons learned, some goals for the upcoming month, things like that. This is completely unfiltered, and I am just going to share with you all the things that have happened because September was an interesting month, and I just was away from a lot of things. I had to step back from a lot of things. I'll talk about why in a little bit. But I think overall it went pretty well as homeschooling goes. There were definitely some challenges that I experienced with my children that I'll also address. But, there were so many also like sweet moments, like God moments that I just, it really kind of propelled me forward with my relationships with my kids, with my relationship with my husband, with my community and my church. So I'm going to get into it, but again, this is a live chat. So if you're joining me, feel free to put some comments in there and you can chat with me and let me know like some of your highlights, some of the things that you have learned from this past month, some of your goals for October, things like that. I'd love to hear about that. And I'm just going to get right into it. And let's see. So I have a script here because I'm really, really bad at like keeping track of myself, keeping track of my thoughts. Let me know if you're like that too. I have to because I go off the rails really quick. So wanted to say, if you're watching this on playback, I'm Yael, by the way. So I am a homeschooling mama of 3 little ones, 3 mini humans that I just love so much. And if you are someone who is interested in videos about curriculum, resources, home learning, and things like that, maybe things like this, doing live videos, you've come to the right place. So make sure that you subscribe and you enable those notifications so you don't miss what I have next just for you, including videos like this. All right, so the other thing is, if you are interested in some of the homeschooling resources, books, things like that I have really enjoyed using for the month of September, stay tuned for that. I'm going to be sharing a video that has all of those things in it. So I'm really looking forward to that. That will be edited. It will be different. So I hope that you can join me for that as well. Okay, let's start with the highlights, shall we? So one thing that I absolutely loved doing this season was visiting family, which I didn't think I was going to enjoy as much because this season has been so hectic for me. But God used that time to be with family to help me slow down. And I really, really enjoyed seeing my husband's side of the family and my sisters-in-law, my brothers-in-law, their children. And one of my sisters-in-law she's going to have a baby soon. So it was so lovely to be able to be with them and just have our children play together and be together. It was beautiful. And I just really enjoyed that weekend. And then as far as homeschooling goes, I have really enjoyed the ways that my children are just growing in terms of their interests. So they're very specific in terms of their interests right now. So I'm seeing more and more that my oldest daughter, Selah, she is really into art right now. And we have been outsourcing that. So once a month, a dear friend of mine has been doing art classes, and she has absolutely loved that so much. So she's like totally into that right now. And then my youngest daughter, every single day, goes to the piano and is just trying to like figure things out on the piano. So I just see their interest growing. It's really cool. So I'm looking into maybe doing lessons for her. My son, who's a toddler, he has an innate sense of responsibility. So he's been cleaning and picking up things around the house, using the vacuum. And then when we're at church, we have to set up church and tear it down, because we're in a place where we're renting the place. So, and it's used for other things. So he's been really, really helpful in that regard. And it's so cute and wonderful to see. It's so encouraging to see how, like, the different things that are clicking for your kids, the things that they're interested in, and just how their identities are forming. So that's been a really big highlight. All right. So the other thing, this is kind of a little story time. Part of the reason why I haven't been active on YouTube. So if you're new here, I have kind of taken a 3-week hiatus, I believe it was. And that was really hard to do. But I was in the middle of studying for my comprehensive exams for my doctoral program. I've been doing a doctoral program in reading, writing, and literacy for the past 5, going on 6 years. Actually, it's 6 years. So that's been wonderful in a lot of ways. God has definitely orchestrated for me to be doing this at this time of my life, even though it's been very challenging at times. I have a lot of incredible support just from my family, my friends, a lot of people who have just been encouraging me along the way. I've had mentors that have encouraged me. And so it's come to this milestone where I have to take this comprehensive exam, and it happened just this past weekend. So I had to study for months and months, and then I came to the point where I was going to take this exam over the weekend. So it was a Friday, and then that was a timed exam for 4 hours. I had to write 2 essays in 4 hours. And then I had 4 take-home essays. So I wrote those over the course of the weekend. I can't even describe. Please leave me a comment or let me know if you can commiserate or relate to that, just having to do a grueling exam kind of thing like that. Whether it's recent or in your past, I'd love to know. But it was a test of mostly not just my knowledge, but also my confidence in being able to do this thing and to see it through and to not give up. And so one of the highlights in terms of just my personal self, my personal life, is just the support and encouragement that I got from being able to do that exam and get through it. So many people, I just saw the Lord's favor all around me. God just poured in through so many different people unexpectedly. And I was able to get them done. I didn't quit. I didn't stop. I just kept going, and I got through it. But I am so exhausted, y'all. It was an intense process. And looking back, I'm still processing what happened to me, what I did. And I'm excited for having passed this milestone, what it means. So essentially now I hopefully get to move on to the dissertation phase of my course of study. So I'm going to be finishing up my dissertation proposal. I'm going to be proposing it, and then hopefully doing the project in the springtime. So I'm excited about that. If you are just joining me, thank you for joining me. I'm so excited you're here. I'm just sharing highlights from this homeschooling past month of September and lessons learned. I'm going to be sharing that in a little bit and some goals for October. So did my comprehensive exam. That was really, really just challenging, but also wonderful, super exciting. I got through it. I'm done. And now I want to talk a little bit about some lessons learned. So through that process of having to do exams, I learned in the most visceral way, that I need to obey my body. Okay. So there were times where, if you're studying for whatever it might be, whether it was in high school or grammar school, whatever, sometimes you get so deep in it that you forget to take care of yourself. I feel like as homeschool moms, we tend to do that too. I don't know about you, but I forget to drink water. I forget to go to the bathroom. I forget to eat. I forget to do the basic things, and I don't obey my body and I don't listen to my body. So When it came to rest, that was the one thing that I struggled with the most this past month, is resting when my body was like, you need to go to sleep, you need to shut it down. And thankfully, again, I had a lot of friends and family who were telling me that, just actively saying, yeah, Elle, you need to rest, like take a break, take a day to just put those things aside and rest. And I really, really appreciated the people that spoke into my life in that way, that told me I needed to rest, that reminded me that I needed to pay attention to my body and obey my body in those moments, and, drink water and eat and, pay attention to my body and making sure that I'm doing the best that I can to nourish it so that I can move forward. Because in the midst of all the studying, I was also homeschooling. So I had to have like a delicate balance between those two things. And if I wasn't resting, if I wasn't eating, if I wasn't drinking on time, those things just completely fell apart. My ability to give and pour into my kids and then have to go study after that, it just did not work if I did not obey my body. So that was the big thing as far as the lessons I have learned from this past month of September, is to obey my body. And I would highly encourage you to do the same thing, because you don't want to burn out. I think that was the biggest thing for me. The biggest takeaway is, when you're obedient to your body, then you are less likely to burn out from the things that you have to do. So that's something that I learned as well. All right, so quick reminder, if you're enjoying this, please give it a like. That is wonderful. That means it gets to more people and we have a greater community amongst us. All right, now as far as our goals for October, I am hoping that we can just ease back into getting to our normal selves, to our normal routines, because studying and devoting so much time to that process has knocked us off our routine. And I have to give a shout out to my husband, because he really pulled through and he took over cooking. He took over just tending to the kids, being with them from the hours of 5 until 8 o'clock at night. Normally we're together for that time, and sometimes I'll do homeschooling prep and things like that. But my time was consumed by studying, and literally that's it. So I had to, have him like be the anchor of our home for a good month or so while I was doing this rigorous studying. So shout out to my husband, but essentially what that means now is that, I'm going to take up those responsibilities and roles again during the week that I would normally, but I had to, put that aside for the time that I was studying. So I'm looking forward to doing those things again for my family, being there for them, having a solid planning routine. It's been really challenging to solidly sit down and plan homeschool in the middle of having to do other things for my academics. So I'm looking forward to that. I want to reshape those routines. And also, because I have to dedicate some time to writing my dissertation, I need to formulate a good work routine. And that's something that I am hoping to talk about in the future on this channel, is like some good routines and habits. I think that's another thing that kind of pulled me through this period in my life, is having good routines and good habits so that I am, for the most part, stable as much as I can be. Still needing to obey my body a little bit more, but for the most part, I have things in my life that are really structured that I was able to kind of cling to. So that kind of anchored me as well. But getting back to normal, then this is a big one for homeschool. And I don't know if you can relate to this, but trusting my kids to do the right thing and not jumping down their throats when they don't. I'm gonna say that again. Trusting my kids to do the right thing and not jumping down their throats when they don't. I have found it very, 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 very hard to trust my kids in the ways that I've been raising them. I feel like a lot of us can maybe relate to that, because we're still in the midst of teaching them to do the right thing. But then there are moments where they are doing the right thing and you assume that they're not. At least that's what I have experienced. You know, there's been times where my older two daughters are helping each other out with something, but because maybe they're laughing about something and they're giggling, or it sounds like they're goofing off, but they're actually helping each other. Like, I step in and try to say, no, like, what are you doing? And I start to like kind of interrogate them a little bit, but they're actually doing the right thing. And so I'm learning that I can't just jump the gun and assume that they're not doing the right thing. I need to trust my kids to know that they're doing the right thing. And then also when they're not, not jumping down their throats. So this is a little story time here. So recently my kids have been doing a lot of painting. So I mentioned that my oldest daughter is really interested in painting and learning how to paint. And so I have this little area in our home just dedicated to kind of arts and crafts kind of stuff and painting, drawing, those types of things. And I haven't like really allowed them the onus to do it on their own. So normally when they're painting, I'm, supervising the activity and whatnot. But I decided to let them have at it. I gave them the parameters. I said, you need to wear a covering. So I have some of my husband's old shirts, that they wear when they're painting, when they're doing their art, so that they don't get filthy, right? So, and then I also mentioned to them to make sure that they're not, taking a bunch of paint out at once, that all of these different little parameters, like it was like 2 or 3 things, these core things that they needed to do. Essentially what happened was that I let them be, and they came up, they created these beautiful things. They're like, mommy, let me show you what I did. And I went downstairs and I saw that it was a disaster down there. It was paint everywhere, on the table, on the floors. My youngest daughter, I'm laughing now because it really was hilarious. She did her handprint on our cement floor, because that side of our basement is not finished, and she just made little like paw prints on the floor. So that happened. And you go down there and it's like that explosive moment of like, oh my gosh, what did my kids just do? And when they had initially showed me their artwork, I was looking at the artwork, but it didn't dawn on me that their clothes were messed up. So that was another thing that I was like, and they were wearing such cute clothes too, that I was like, no, what did you do? You messed up your clothes, kids. But it was just a moment that I think, because there was so much pressure on me, because I was doing so much, it was a moment where I lost it. And I didn't lose it in the sense that like I screamed at them and I was like, with them. But I fell apart, and I was like, my God, why is this happening right now? Like, I gave you such simple rules. Why didn't you follow them? Now everything's messed up. But I just felt like I kind of attacked them a little bit, and I think I got a little too upset about the situation, and I didn't give them enough space to realize what they had done wrong. So I am a firm believer in positive discipline, where you have empathy with your child for something that they did and how they might be feeling, and then they empathize with you. How is mommy feeling about this? But you don't make the action, the wrong thing that they did, about you. And that's what I did. I made it about me. I made it about what I told them. I made it about like the fact that I have to clean it up, that they better help if they, if they know what's good for them. I gave them a really unrealistic punishment for it as well. And, it went down here really quickly. So that was one thing that I realized, like, I just need to make sure that I am calm when I am addressing something that they have done wrong, and I'm not jumping down their throats because of the expectation I had. I think we can have expectations for our kids, but I don't think that we should jump down their throats when they don't meet those expectations. You know what I mean? So trusting my kids and not jumping down their throats when something goes down and something goes wrong. And then the other thing I can think of too is my son, who is 2, and is starting to potty train, right? Which is really exciting. He's taken it upon himself to do it, so there it goes. So we're slowly kind of introducing the potty to him. He's really excited about it. Problem is, sometimes when children that young are, and even if they're not potty training, sometimes the things that they do to show you that they're ready for potty training are kind of crazy. So my son took to poop painting in his crib. Let me know if that is your struggle, if you have seen that, if you have experienced that, because it was wild. It was wild. It was frustrating, infuriating to walk into his room and see poop everywhere. Poop on the wall, poop on the crib, poop in so many different places. On his head. Like, it just, oh my gosh, it happened a couple of times. And it really, really was a test for me, because I was going through so much with my exams, with the other two kids, and I just felt like, wow, what am I supposed to learn in this season, God? And really, I feel like, life is just life, and sometimes kids do these things, and we have to expect that they're going to be doing these things, right? Sometimes we're in the middle of something that's really hard, we forget that. And admittedly, I cried like 3 times in the course of 24 hours because it was so challenging. And sometimes you do have to have a good cry. So that's another thing I learned. It's okay for me to cry. It's okay for me not to have to hold it in. But yeah, that was really challenging, really frustrating. But thankfully, God willing, we have gotten past that. No more poop painting in Jesus' name. But that also means that he is like showing me signs that he is definitely ready for potty training. So I'm trying to look at the brighter side of it now. All right. So the last thing, so I was sharing my goals, and that kind of turned into like story time for my son. But, the last goal that I have for October is just to enjoy this season. I have been working so hard this past month and the months leading up to this past month, that I have forgotten that we are in the fall season, and we have been doing fun activities. So I have a video that talks about all the activities that I was going to plan to do for the fall, and we've been enjoying those. So I can't wait to share that with you, some of the ones that we really loved and some of the ones that we're also going to be doing in October, more geared towards like pumpkins and maybe a little bit of Halloween themes here and there. More like harvest type of things though. But when you're in something as grueling and rigorous as an exam that you have to go through, or maybe you have job interviews, or maybe you have some kind of thing that you're preparing for, it's really challenging to enjoy the season that you're in, because you're like, wow, I have so much that I need to do, so much is on my plate right now, so much is expected of me, that you forget to enjoy it. So I am going to take some time to rest and just enjoy this season for all of the things that are happening. We have birthdays in our family that I'm really excited to celebrate. Mom, if you're watching, I am excited for your birthday. My mom's birthday, then we have my niece's birthday. We have birthdays in November, lots of birthdays towards the end of the year for our family. So I'm really looking forward to celebrating those things, and also getting ready for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and just being excited for those things again. I'm also excited for this season as far as my faith goes, and my involvement in church. So I am a worship leader at my church, and I haven't been able to do worship leading recently because of how crazy things have been. So I'm really looking forward to jumping back into that. So yeah, it's really exciting. I can't wait to fellowship with my brothers and sisters in that way. So that'll be really, really exciting as well. And also just taking my time, drinking my cups of tea. I drink chai tea every morning. I used to drink coffee, can't drink it anymore. But I just love the tastes and the smells like sage and rosemary, the smell of butternut squash, like those things are fall to me, apples, pumpkins. So I'm really, really like thankful that I get to enjoy this season after this really, really intense process in my life. So that's what I'm looking forward to. If you are watching this on playback, make sure you leave it in the comments. What are some of the things that you have, highlights from your homeschooling, some lessons learned, some goals that you have for this upcoming month, things like that. I, again, am going to be doing a video really soon about all of how curriculum is going, because that's a thing, and also just some of the resources we've been enjoying, things like that. So stay tuned for that. I am going to go ahead and end this live video. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you all, mamas. I'm so excited that you were able to join me today in all of my unfiltered awkwardness. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye, ladies.